There's a report out that the peace symbol, I guess the sort of thing that, 60s type of thing, is now 60 years old. I started in the late 50s. I wasn't aware about that. By the way, speaking of whining, David Price, Boston Red Sox pitcher. I hadn't gotten into it, but earlier this week, J.D. Martinez, former Detroit Tigers slugger, I guess was Diamondbacks into the last year. J.D. Martinez signed a very lucrative, it was a $110 million contract with the Boston Red Sox. And so, by the way, Scott Boras trying to say, you had Yu Darvish, you had this big trade three-way deal with the Yankees, the Diamondbacks, and the Rays, by the way, going on. This idea that, there's sort of this collusion. Well, Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, no, I'm not a fan, but yeah, he's got some comments about that, and I think they are worthy of being played at this time.
Players' right to hold out as long as they want to get the best possible deal. But in evaluating what's going on out there, I think it's just important to remember that it does take two parties to make an agreement.
Absolutely right. I mean, Jason Worth is out there. Jason Worth is done. I mean, I think he knows it himself. I'm amazed Bartolo Colon got a contract from the Rangers, even a minor league deal. Come on, you say 8.10 ERA? Come on. 101 years old? Manfred, of course, says, hey, we want our players signed. There, let's listen to him in a quick soundbite.
At the end of the day, we want players signed. We want the best players playing the game. It's always our goal.
And there are some indications of, you can read the list of free agents out there, but here's the thing, and it gets to be where you start wondering, is baseball becoming like the NBA? And dare I say, does the individual have too much power? I mean, you hate to say that, because I'm always in for empowerment of the individual in labor practices or whatever, I understand that, you're not going to give people that work behind the counter at a convenience store or something $1 million a year as much as they want to do, but it's just not practical from a financial standpoint. I understand that, okay? I understand that there will be a lot of small businesses that might not be able to budget a $15 an hour minimum wage. Not that I wouldn't mind, if I'm working minimum wage, making $15 an hour, but how many jobs will there be? How many will go to automation? These are questions that need to be answered before we go to that segment. And anyway, I want to point this out there, and it goes into a little bit of the whining athlete. We talked about Hamlin. Now David Price. He's telling J.D. Martinez, just the power bat, signing with the Red Sox, that fans in Boston are going to boo him. Really? A professional athlete getting booed maybe if he struck out? Really? Now, I do understand that fans in the Northeast tend to be a little more critical than fans, say, in the Southeast. You will get more booing there. I also think it's a part of, I had Mark Malone on last month. Mark Malone was quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and just without going into a lot of detail, he got booed a lot. Okay? And in fact, I thought much of the time when it did happen in that previous generation, a lot of it was unfair. And I told him that after our interview ended off the air, and he said, you know what, it goes with the territory. And this goes again with my whole thing about when you hear, the Citadel game, ETSU is a good example of this. Oh, it's a tough day, so they're probably Johnson City. Oh, really? Bucks fans will be yelling at you. That's interesting. You can't make a shot because they're yelling at you? Really? You got to handle that. Same thing. Look, if you hit into 3 double plays in a game, kind of expect that with the money you're making, you're going to hit a boo. Maybe it's bad form. I get that. Price and Martinez were teammates with the Tigers. Price said, hey, get ready for this and all that. Boo-hoo-hoo. Really, and you know something? If J.D. Martinez goes out and hits 35 home runs this year, he's not going to get booed a lot. Even among a fan base that traditionally, before they started winning World Series back in 2004, was called to be fatalist, with the Red Sox, and they can be very critical fans there. I once remember reading on a message board when the Red Sox, defeated the Yankees in the 2004 ALCS. They came back, first team Major League history to come back from a 3-0 deficit in a 7-game series, win the series. And I remember I went to a Boston Red Sox message board. At the time, the MLB sites had them. And I went to just see what the fans were saying. I mean, this had never happened before. The first post. Keep in mind, they were on their way to winning the first World Series in Boston in 86 years. Great victory, but Francona must go. It's part of being a pro athlete. Goes with the territory, as Mark Malone told me off the air. And you're getting paid enough to take it as well. I understand it's poor form. I also understand you have to sometimes think, you know what? Those fans are embarrassing themselves. And oftentimes it comes out that way, and it's mentioned that they are if you get undue criticism. Red Sox fans, by the way, they have forgiven Bill Buckner. They have done that, which is more than what I can say for, say, Steelers fans and Neil O'Donnell. Red Sox fans forgave Johnny Pesky. In fact, Johnny Pesky for a long time was probably Mr. Red Sox. Johnny Pesky is best known for holding the ball a little too long and allowing Country Slaughter to score with the winning run of the 1946 World Series. Look it up. Red Sox fans can be forgiven. Price coming out and saying, hey, the fans will boo you here. Be ready for that. Where don't they in Major League Baseball? Final thought on this, and I want to move it to Tennessee football. I can remember when it started to get bad for Tennessee football about 10 years ago. And there was a recruit, California, and he went to a game at Neyland, and evidently some fans booed. And after that, he changed his commitment to Stanford. And I remember sports writers, kind of Homer sports writers, saying that because he heard fans at Neyland Stadium booing the Vols, he transferred his commitment. Well, you kind of look at where Jim Harbaugh was taking the Cardinal at the time and where Phil Fulmer was taking the Vols, and maybe there was a little bit more to that. But here's the bottom line. If there is an athlete out there, a recruit, who isn't going to go to college X because fans boo him, does he have the intestinal fortitude that you really want to give a scholarship to? How's he going to make it in the pros? Tri-City Sports Now.
When you're looking